Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. Today I have the May sampler box to go through and my next block in the Pieceful baskets quilt along I show you, and then I also have a whole stack of customer quilts. I put the biggest one on top today, so all the others are down below, but I hope you'll join me for today's video. So I did receive my sampler box for this month, and this is put out by the Fat Quarter Shop for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. It's a once a month subscription box, and this month is called May Days, and it always includes a good coupon on the back of this one. So every box includes pre-cut fabrics, and so this month, let me look up the name of this one again. This one is called Clover and Dot. This is a 2.5 inch strips, and I'll go ahead and open this so you can see all of the prints. So this is by Wyndham Fabrics. This is called Clover and Dot, and this is put out by Allison Harris. And so we would normally call this a jelly roll. Jelly roll is actually the name that Moda uses for theirs, and so all the other companies, they choose something similar, you know. So this one, they just say it's 2.5 inch strips, but it's the same thing. If a pattern that you're working with calls for a jelly roll, you might just look it up by a different name under some of the other manufacturers of the fabric. So Wyndham just calls them 2.5 inch strips. Clover and Dot, this is by Allison Harris, as I said, and let me unpackage this so you can see this. So lots of, that's nice. They include a little rubber band around there too. So if you wanted to take the packaging off of it and just set it on your shelf, but keep it all nice and tightly bound, you could just keep that little rubber band on there. That's a nice feature. Anyway, I'm going to take it off so that you can see the whole, all of the fabrics. So this is floral. It has some large scale florals, as you can see. But then there are also dots and some striping. So polka dots. So let me show you this. So large florals, I like the colors. Some smaller florals, I like that simple flower right there, that's cute. And then the polka dots in those same colors. This one is a white on white, but it has I like that print. It's hard for the camera, there you go. It's hard for the camera to pick up whites. And I hope I'm not overdoing it by having a white shirt on today either. I'll try to keep my sweater pulled across so it doesn't mess with the lighting there. All right, and so this one, not quite a polka dot, almost like, you know, little blowing leaves or prints or something, but the same colors as those first ones. And a little bee print. Like that one too. I like that one. I like it set on point. A little easier, especially if for backings. And just a little hint here, on the long arm, sometimes the straight backings are a little harder to keep straight on the long arm. So anytime that there's something set on point like this, it's a lot easier to keep everything straight. The reds are so pretty, and then there's that same melon. Ooh, and this one includes the reds and the melons. The melon with some blues. Like the yellow polka dot. Ooh, it's like a golden yellow. And then the bee one. And then we move into the greens. Green in the bee one. Dark green and light green in that one. I like that one too. So some of the same patterns, just done in all the different colorways. So polka dots and the stripes. And then all the colors. So light blues to dark blues, it goes all the way through them. That same bee print in the blue. So a really nice line. I like this. I really like that. All right. So mine are not going to be tightly bound anymore, but that's okay. So then there's always a pattern to use with the pre-cut, and this month it is called Spring Ivy, and this is a really cute one. So it has the floral theme to it. This can be done in either a lap quilt or if you buy a second pack of the 2.5-inch strips. You can actually do a larger one, a twin quilt, and that one's really cute. The twin one measures 66 by 86. But this pattern is usually exclusive to the Sew Sampler box. So unless you are able to get an a la carte box, you won't be able to get the pattern, but it's really cute. And also on the back of this card that's on the front, when you first open the box, this card is the first thing you see. And there's always a second pattern on the back of this card to be able, that you can use with the same fabric. So really, really cute. All right, let me show you some of the other products in here because I've already been using some of them. So there was this bottle of Flatter. So Flatter is, it says starch-free ironing and smoothing spray. This is plant-based. It comes in 6 or 8 different scents, which is really nice. So it's plant-derived, biodegradable, phosphate-free, dye-free, no sulfate silicones, and it helps you get all the wrinkles, and it's a pressing spray. So very similar to Best Press, and I did use this yesterday when I was working on my Pieceful Baskets quilt block for this month. And this smell, the scent on this one was a wild mint. It was really nice. This actually comes with a lid on it, and then they also included the spray top, and so I've already put the spray top on there and have been using it that way. But there are lots of different scents. You can even get it as a variety pack where you can get some of each one. So plant-based, so if you have any issues with Best Press, this would be a nice alternative to that. I enjoyed it. I really liked using it. I don't normally spray my blocks as I'm pressing them, but this came in the box and I decided to use it, and I like the way it pressed out the seams. So I'll show you that block in just a minute here, but Flatter. Another thing that was included in this month's box are these Clover Wonder Pins. And these pins are that you can open and close them with one hand. So let me show you what this looks like. Almost looks like a diaper pin. And that's what it looks like. But it's spring-loaded so that when you press down, and I won't be able to do this because I'm not on a flat surface, but when you press down and kind of move to the side, then it opens up. And then you can press down and move it to the side a little bit again, and it closes back up. So I did use these also when I was working on my pressed flower, or my Pieceful Baskets block this month, and they're nice. They're a nice little handy thing to have. So and I do have some arthritis in my hands. I had no trouble using this. So just on a flat surface, you push down and just kind of move it to the right a little, or move it one way or the other. It'll open either direction. And then when you're ready to close it, you just kind of swing it down and around that end, the sharp end. So 2 colors are included. There are pink and yellow, so it does feel like diaper pins in some ways. But these are the Clover Wonder Pins. I believe there were 20 in the box. Pretty neat little product there. So, all right, and then the third thing in this month's box was some replacement blades for 45mm rotary cutter. These are the endurance blades, which are supposed to last twice as long. You can never go wrong with doing the heavier duty blades. I have used these. I've also used the titanium ones, and that's really all I buy anymore. I don't buy the cheaper ones. And I did the last time, I've not changed out my 45mm blade, but the last time I did change out my 60mm blade, I actually wrote right on the blade itself what day I changed it, because I want to see how long it actually lasts. I'm one of those that uses my blade until I realize that I'm pressing too hard, or I'm having to do 2 swipes to get something cut, and I'm like, why am I waiting so long? Just change the thing. It makes it so much easier. So this time I really want to see how long it takes. So once I change out my 45mm blade, I will mark that down as well, so that I can keep track of how long it's lasting. But this is the endurance blade. I love getting things like this in a box as well, because these are things that it's just good to have on hand. You don't always think about it when you're at the quilt store, you know, until it's too late. you know, and you're really needing to change a blade and you don't always have them on hand. So I enjoy getting these kinds of notions in a box, because this just, I can stick it in my drawer and have available when it's time to change the blade when I've waited too long. So the final thing in the box is block number 2 of the Pieceful baskets sew along. I did want to show you, before I show you my block, I want to show you something that I found when I was looking at the Fat Quarter Shop website. I know they did this for the Pressed Flowers quilt along, and I hadn't paid attention yet for this quilt along. But they do have color conversions for different lines if you want to do your blocks in something different. So I am using the called for fabric, which is the Shoreline fabric from Camille Roskelley. And the reason I went looking for this is because I wanted to get a little bit bigger pictures of each of the fabrics as I was cutting them out yesterday. So this gives you the SKU number, which when you get the block pattern, it also gives you the SKU number. And then it gives you a color, the matching fabric. And these were just a little easier to see than on the pattern, to make sure I was getting the exact fabric that was called for. But when I went to look for this, well then before I move on to that, this also, if you were not able to get the kit, then you can download this as a free download. You can download this and it tells you how much of each fabric you need. So if you want to do the Shoreline fabric, but the kit is no longer available, print off this download and then it tells you how much of each fabric you need, and you can make your own kit. Whether Fat Quarter Shop, your own online quilt store that you enjoy, you have all the SKU numbers, you have all the mounts that you need, you can create your own kit. So that can be done with the Shoreline, but they've also redone it in other fabric lines. So are you a Fig Tree fan? They have done a color conversion for Jelly and Jam fabrics by Fig Tree. So your baskets would be the lighter colors or more beige colors with the reddish and greenish tones that she has. If you're familiar with Fig Tree, you know her colorway. And so you can make a whole quilt using her fabrics. Another one, and this is all in the same download, so you can download this, free download, I'll link it down below, and you can have all, whichever fabric line you like the best. So another way they have done it is the Flower Girl fabric. This was My So Quilty Life, and this was the fabrics that was included in last month's box. So I have some fat quarters from that line, and this is what your blocks would look like if you went with this fabric line. And again, this PDF tells you all the SKUs that you need, and it tells you the amounts that you need, so you can go on and find these SKUs, and you can do this colorway using the Flower Girl by My So Quilty Life. Another one is a Betsy Chuchian, Lydia's Lace. So this would be reproduction baskets. This one would be really pretty too. All reproduction fabric line. That would be beautiful. I think that would be a great one. And another one, they did it in the 30s Playtime by Lindsay McCrae. I love these 30s fabrics. I was watching for these to come out. And this is so cute with the playful 30s prints. That would be really darling as well. They've done a great job of choosing a variety of fabric lines. If you're a Zen Chic fan, then they have done a colorway using her shimmer line. I love that one too. Ooh, this would be so fun. And then the final one, those Lori Holt fans out there, they did one in autumn. So you could have an autumn baskets using Lori's line from that. So this would be a great PDF to print out. No cost. You can print it down, print it off right there, and have all of you can make your own kit, your own that you can work on. So let me show you my block for the Pieceful baskets, block number 2. All right, here is my finished block number 2. Again, these are large blocks. These measure 17 by 17. They are, so when you make the block, you're actually making it square. I mean, you're making it like this. You're making the center section, so you are making it square. And then at the end, you're adding these triangle parts. Those are just white. This one you have an easy corner triangle, and then you cut this apart from this one, and that's what you're creating the legs of the basket with. And so then you join those on the bias on all four sides of the square that you've already created. Love the fabrics. I just think this is so fun. Like the light blue, like the green. It feels like you've got like little doilies hanging over the edge of the basket, and then your flower, and then you've got your handle. Just so pretty. So pretty. So let me show you the back, because I did use that flatter spray on when I was doing my seams. I did press everything open. I'm starting to do that more and more. It's just easier. I think quilting has kind of changed that direction in the last couple years, where we're just pressing seams open. Saves the designers time from having to figure out which, all the little arrows on your patterns. And most things, I'm not having any trouble on the long arm with open seams. I would just caution if you have an open seam on the end or any edge, like if this was the edge of the quilt, I would still, if you don't back stitch when you start a seam, then I would do a running stay stitch all the way around your quilt top, because those, on the long arm, we are stretching your quilt to get it as straight and flat as we can. And if those seams aren't back stitched, or if they're not stitched over, then those do come apart just a tad bit. So in your normal piecing, I think the open seams are fine. I'm not having any trouble with that at all. It would just be if anything is on the edge, just make sure, and that would be whether it was an open seam or pressed one direction. It really just needs to be back stitched or stitched over along the edges to keep those from pulling open during the quilting process. But I was thrilled. I used the flatter spray, and then I did use the clappers to let it cool, and they're all laying very flat, really nice. I like that. I was trying to notice whether anything was shrinking at all. I would say there's very minimal shrinkage when I use the flatter spray. All of the pieces on this, you actually create your blocks and then you cut them down. Like all of the half square triangles, here, all of these 3 half square triangle blocks, you're making them and then you're trimming them to size. These blocks as well, you're trimming them to size. So I was trimming anyway, even these small tiny little ones, you were trimming them to size. So I did use the flatter spray. I never had any seams that that were shrunk so much that I didn't have some to cut off or some to trim off, if that makes sense. When I was trimming the block, my block actually was very, very close to 17.5 inches square. There was a little bit of trimming where the blocks came together, but other than that, it was pretty much right on size. So you might just be cautious with that, if you're trying out some best press or flatter, to make sure you're not getting your blocks shrinking so much that it's distorting the size at all. That would be a problem. But there is block number 2. All right, we can start into some customer quilts now. This first quilt is from Trish, and this is a very large quilt. This measures 98 by 108, so you're not even going to see the whole thing. But the interesting thing, this is from one of the 3-yard quilt patterns. This comes from the book Fast and Fun 3-Yard Quilts. I've talked about this the last couple weeks because I've had several quilts that have come from those books, but they're obviously not just 3 yards. And Trish's was the same way. So she increased the design, just continued to make the blocks over and over so that she created the size that she wanted. She did add borders around the edge, just as the original pattern showed, but obviously she had to do her quilty math, and she had to figure out the size of those borders. There's a cornerstone block on each corner, and that is just as the pattern shows as well. So the blocks themselves, you have a large block here with some sort of signature print. And Trish said most of these fabrics came from Hobby Lobby. She was making this for a friend, and she loves the paisley design and the colors, the browns and the blacks, and so they were able to purchase all their fabrics there. Really nice. I didn't have any trouble with any of these fabrics at all. So your larger block is really a signature block. That's where you're using a print that has a lot of interest in it, you know, like these where you've got a lot of the paisley. You could fussy cut designs or something. This is where you could use a large floral, something that when you cut it down too small, you're going to lose the design, but in a large block like this, you get to see the whole design. Then the second block you have is this one right here, or what you can see. Let me see. You can see this one right here. So it's a smaller square and a rectangle. Let me pull it up a little bit. So you have a square with a rectangle, and then this middle section is a rectangle, and then you have the same thing as this side. You have the rectangle and then the square. And just by alternating which side the square is on, you're creating that diagonal effect across the quilt with those black squares. It's really pretty. So some of the fabrics, some of the prints are lighter. This is a white with little brown crosses on it, or little like plus signs on it, and then she's got a little darker one here with a little bit of a feather type design there. This one is more of a cream color, and then the other one's a little, it's a cream with a tan color plus sign on the top. The backing fabric she used was this mottled tan color. I like that. I really like that design. All right, for the pantograph, she chose espresso, and I love this pantograph. The pantograph has that paisley loop to it. It also has some swirls to it, some crosses over where the quilting crosses over itself so that it looks like a ribbon where it's crossing each other and flipping over. It has swirls. It's just a perfect pantograph for this quilt because of all the paisleys and the fabrics. And then you repeat that paisley, but then you add in some of the swirls as well. The thread color is a cream color. I actually went with what was called almond. It's a little darker than the cream, but very, very similar. Just the tone of this quilt was a little darker, not darker, I just want to say not a bright. So the almond thread color kept more with that. The cream was a little too bright on this one, and the almond color was perfect for the blacks and the taupes and the colors of this fabric line. Really, really pretty. Again, very big, 98 by 108. The backing fabric, I've mentioned before, a quilt I can take up to about 120. That would make your backing fabric 128, which would span my entire length because, you know, you've got to have room for the machine to be on either end as well. And so this one was it was maxing out my space pretty good. So could have gone just a tad bit bigger, but it sure took up a lot. And this one took a long time to quilt too, because this was a very long time to stitch across the rows and then to rotate it, and just very big. But that's what longarm quilting is all about, is to be able to do those large projects that are very difficult to do at home on your home sewing machines. So I really love this. Trish will be getting this back very soon. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, the next one is a baby quilt, and this is one of Sara's. Every time I meet with Sara, she has something for me. We swap every time we meet. So she likes to do these small baby quilts. This is 5-inch squares. She's done it in a medallion type of design where you start with one center block and then just continue your blocks around so that it radiates out. This is all done in grays, stars. It's got a white with gray stars, gray with white polka dots, the gray with the white polka dots, and then she adds in this cute little goose print. So really just there's one novelty print, and everything else is geometric, or it's some other print. So if you have even a small amount of a novelty print, a little baby print or something, and you join it with other fabrics that are matching in color, you can have this really cute baby blanket. and a baby quilt. I love the large polka dots here. A lot of these are Tilda fabrics from what I remember Sara saying in other ones. We've done one very similar to this. She's done it in blue, she's done it in pinks. Just a lot of fun. And what I really enjoy is, if you'll notice the little geese, they have these little teal like scarves around their necks. And so then Sara has taken that little bit of a teal, and that is what she has put on the back. And I love this contrast with the grays on the front, the teal on the back. This is one of Robin Pickens' thatched prints. Robin Pickens has a whole host of colors. You could find any color you want. I like it that it reads as a solid, but when you get in close, it's just a little bit of a grid pattern, not perfectly square grid, so it's a little, you know, a little abstract in some ways, but not in a scary way. It's a little bit abstract, just not fully straight. But she's got every color that you would want. So if this would be great line to use for the temperature quilt if you were doing that as well. A lot of bold, bright ones if you wanted some bolder, brighter fabrics for a temperature quilt. This would be one of those lines because there's so many colors in it that you could choose from. So you can see the pantograph. This is called Twirl. We did use a light gray thread, and I like this size. So the you know, the larger twirls are larger than my fist, but you've got some smaller ones in there too. Just a nice design for this quilt. You've got a lot of spirals on the front, but a very square in the piecing, and so it's just a lot of fun. A nice little baby quilt, really cute. All right, here's the next one. This is Rachel's quilt, and she made this for her husband. He was in the Air Force, and he is so happy to finally be getting his own quilt. She said she's made quilts for everybody else and had never finished one for him, so this is finally one for him. So she started with a panel, and this is the American flag, bald eagle, USA, Patriotic, Stars and Stripes Forever panel. And you might have to look on Etsy. There are several very similar to ones. This one has Mount Rushmore down at the bottom of the panel with the flag, and then the eagle, and then it does say Stars and Stripes Forever at the top. There are several different versions of this one. You can get one with just Mount Rushmore, Mount Rushmore and the flag, Mount Rushmore and the eagle. Not always could I find it with the words as well, but you can search through or have your local quilt store find it for you. And then Rachel has then added some sashing, some solid blue sashing, and then taken other patriotic prints just in rectangles, different size rectangles. I'll ask her if there was a specific pattern for this or if she just created it on her own. She did a really nice job. Just all different size rectangles, all patriotic prints. This one is really cute. It says Old Glory on it. This one says Sweet Land of Liberty. I love the words that are in some of the fabrics. The red stars, the red background with white stars, and the blue background with white stars. She's just really done a nice job of combining the different fabrics for this panel. The backing, I love this backing as well. The blue with the red stars, and then almost like a firework there. Really cute. For the pantograph, we did want to go with something patriotic to continue with the theme, and this is called AM Freedom. So let's see if you can see this. So it's got 2 stars, and then it's got 2 stars in here, like a bunting is across the top, and then it flip-flops, and then you've got the 2 stars, and the bunting is down below it. And it alternates like that all across the quilt. I did make this, probably 4 inches tall, I want to say. And for the thread, this is a cream color thread. Again, cream color does really nice on fabrics like this, it blends in. It's not as stark as white, it's not as bright and bold as a white, so it's a very neutral print. You might have been able to go with gray, but with the faces of the Mount Rushmore and the whites of the flags, I felt like gray might be too dark on this one. So a cream color, you can see it doesn't take away from the cream colors in the flag there at all. And even on the faces of Mount Rushmore, not until you get in close are you going to see the quilting on those. And that's the way it's meant to be. From a distance, you're going to see the design. You're going to see the faces. And the quilting doesn't take away from that. It's not till you get in closer can you see, you can see the quilting on that. So very nice. And the finished size of this one, let me look real quick. The finished size on this one was 56 by 66, so that can kind of give you an idea of the sizing of the blocks around the panel there. Very nice. Okay, here are Mary's quilts. Mary's first quilt is a jelly roll race, and I am assuming that these are all blues that she had in her stash, so you do not have to start with a jelly roll, the 2.5 inch strip roll that's curated with one fabric line. You can create your own. So Mary has gone with blues and with whites and with grays, all different blues. There are some snowflakes, there are some florals, there are some clouds, it's a little bit of everything. And so take your scraps and cut them into 2.5 inch strips and do a jelly roll race. With a jelly roll race, what you're doing is you're joining them end to end. And I'll link down below for a tutorial so you can see. And so that's how, by joining them end to end and continuing to stitch, that's how you're getting these, staggered stops and starts in the quilt. Just a lot of fun. A great way to make a quilt. This one measures 43 by 59. So you can decide how wide, how much you want to do. So there's clouds, there's snowflakes, there's some just, almost like that thatched print there, some polka dot grays. She's done a really good job of combining all these different colors together. Not colors, but all these different types of fabrics together, because from a distance, it's all blues. And then when you get in close, you get to see all the variations in the fabrics. It's a lot of fun. For the backing fabric, she just chose a solid white color. So for the pantograph, we chose malachite. And malachite has sort of a water theme. It's kind of a squiggle, but, so if you can think of spirals that are very circular, malachite has the same idea, except it's a squiggly line as you're coming in and then echoing back out. So it kind of gives a ripple effect, a water effect. It's a great texture builder. This was a great one to, because of all the straight lines of a jelly roll, then this creates a lot of a secondary texture because of all of the squigglies. It's not perfectly straight, there's nothing, you're not trying to match any of the lines at all, just creating a lot of texture. So the thread color on this one is white. We had a white background, we have a lot of white prints on the front, so the white was the perfect choice. It creates a lot of texture on the white colors there. And then let me show you the white on the blueprints. So yes, you can see it. It creates another there are so many different, even this print has a lot of silver lines in it and things. And so the white thread is just creating another texture on top of those quilts, on top of those fabrics. Very nice. All right, I love that. That's a great way to use up your scraps. Use your 2.5 inch strips, create your own jelly roll, or maybe you have a jelly roll that's sitting on the shelf and you want to use it for something like this. It'd be a great project to finish up really quickly. You could do it in your favorite colors for your favorite, if you need a quick gift for a baby quilt, or for a baby shower or a graduation gift or something like that. You could make in their favorite colors, their team colors or school colors, and it'd be a great project to work on and have done in a good, quick time. All right, I'll show you Mary's second quilt. Mary's second quilt is a sweet little quilt as well. Again, I assume she's using scraps that she's had. This is all in pastels from pinks and greens and blues and purples. Just very sweet. You've got everything. You've got little gingham prints, you have striped prints, there's polka dot prints. There are some sweet little, they appear to be older textiles just by the feel of them, and just very, very cute. Or maybe they're reproduction 30s or something like that. They're just really, really cute. Even some of these, they feel like a very soft minky because it's in the quilt. It's hard to tell whether they're minky. I can't tell for sure, but that's the feel that they have, and not a very thick minky, but a lighter one. But the purple and the blue, there were pinks, the white. A lot of these prints have just that's a nice contrast, because you have the cottons and then you have this, it's almost like one of those feel books of little kids, you know, that they can feel the fuzzy and then they can feel the others. And so you can use those scraps of minky and put them in little squares like these. These are probably 4-inch squares is what they look like. Lay them out in a pleasing design. This one's not a planned design like Sara's was, where she's actually trying to create the medallion. This is just all laid out very nicely, just very random though. It's not tried to make a pattern. You could do that. You could start with pinks and then blues and then greens, or you can just do it very random and then add your different fabrics in. Like there's a minky, there's a green, there's a blue, just here's a white and a green minky there. Just very nice. So for the pantograph, I chose this this one. This is called Love You, and it has just these cute little lambs on it. They've got big floppy ears, and just it's got a couple other swirls around there. It's just really precious, because a lot of these fabrics were just solids. Then you know, they were not novelty prints, they're more just polka dots or stripes or things. And so on this one I feel comfortable adding a design onto the print because I'm not competing with anything. So I think you really have to go quilt by quilt. So like the quilts, the American flag quilt, that one I felt a patriotic print just adds to the design. I'm going with the same theme. This one, the theme, there's not a lot of theme in the fabrics besides the pastel colors, so I feel good going with more of a picture, I guess is what I want to say, a more picture pantograph where it's a lamb or a bear or something like that. I tend to stay away from, if there's a strong theme in the quilt, maybe there's a lot of I don't know, maybe the blocks are a certain picture, and then I don't always like to repeat the picture in the pantograph. At that point I like to change to something that gives it more texture but not repeating the pattern. And so it kind of goes on a quilt by quilt basis, but and I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but with the patriotic quilt, the flag and the stars really emphasize the theme without being without taking away from it. This one, there is no theme in the fabrics besides the pastel colors, and so adding a picture pantograph of an animal or something, I feel increases the theme of the quilt. It really adds to the quilt and not take it away. And so kind of pick and choose. That's kind of my thinking. I don't always want to repeat the same theme. That, you know, if the fabrics are carrying the theme, then I don't always want to repeat that theme in the pantograph. The quilt, the patriotic quilt, might be a an exception to that. But most of the time I like to then switch something if the theme of the quilt is being carried either in the piecing or in the fabrics, then I like to do something different for the pantograph. If the quilt itself is a little more neutral, then you can create the theme by adding more of a picture pantograph. And but you can kind of play with it. That's just my thinking. The backing on this one is a white, is actually the same white that was on the jelly roll. And that way you can really see the little lambs. Their big floppy ears. I think they're really cute. All right, and let's move on to another one. This is Dana's quilt, and Dana used one of GE Designs patterns called JoJo. And so this is a in her book Stripology 2, and I have linked that down below. This does use GE Designs, has Creative Grids rulers called the Stripology rulers. And I did, Stripology is one of those things that I am planning on learning this year, and so I purchased these earlier in the year. So this is the Stripology squared ruler. This is the large one, and this is the one that you would need to make this quilt. So this quilt is in the Stripology book too. It's called JoJo. There is another a table runner pattern called Little JoJo that would actually use the smaller Stripology squared, the mini one. So that is a standalone pattern if you want to just try the smaller JoJo. The larger one is in the book, and it uses layer cakes, and then it uses the larger squared ruler. And like I said, this is something that I want to learn this year. I actually bought a different book. I don't have one of the quilting books where it shows you, actually has quilting patterns, but this one is called Master Your Stripology Rulers. I have not started into this yet, but this is how I plan on learning my Stripology rulers. There are some patterns in here that can be done, but the other books that GE Designs has, she actually has patterns in there, and not so much of a teaching book as this one is, more of the patterns. So if you like this JoJo pattern, it is in the Stripology book number 2. So this one uses layer cakes and using the Stripology ruler. Now Dana said this was an old layer cake that she had. I wish I knew the name of this design because I love it. I love it looks like writing, but it's just, you know, little scribbles. I love the colors of this one, the deeper navies and the greens. So you can see the block. Let me find a good one here. Maybe it's easiest to see in this lighter block. So here is the light color. It is, I would be intrigued on seeing how this block is put together because it is on the diagonal. So you have a triangle here, you have a triangle piece here, you have more of a rectangle piece here, a longer part, then you have a square of one of the other prints that's in the quilt here, and then a little bit of a square here, and then I'm sure you trim it up somehow. So this one intrigues me. I love patterns that I can't figure out on my own, that I love that kind of a pattern. So like I said, this one uses a layer cake. If you're interested in the smaller one, that is the little JoJo, that uses the smaller ruler, and it also uses charm packs. And so that would be a great way to use up a charm packs as well. So love this one, love the fabrics, I love the design, I just love everything about this quilt. The backing fabric, ooh, I love this too, the polka dot. Dana has a really good eye for fabrics, and I just love her fabric choices. So the pantograph, this is Julie Hertz Cottonwood, and again, I love this design. This is very tight. I do I like this design tight. It doesn't have to be tight. You could separate it more. It does stitch out 2 rows at a time, so 2 rows are going to be touching, and so that's why I think the other rows need to be up and touching as well. Because like I said, I like to keep my design consistent across the quilt top. So if it's going to print out, if it's going to stitch two lines very close together, then I don't want my next line to have a lot of space between, because then you're going to exactly see where those lines are. So I do close up the gap all the way. Now I can tell where a line's stitched out because I can tell that you know, where the points are matching up. Somebody else may just look at, and honestly, I always say this, you know, like if you made if you make your own garments in your clothes, somebody's not going to say, you know, oh, you missed a seam right there. You know, they're not going to do that. And we tend to be very we judge our own quilting so harshly, and we don't need to, you know. Whether it's your piecing or whether it's the quilting, somebody's going to look at this, and they're going to look at the whole design. They're not going to go up to each little point and say, oh, does it match right there? Nobody's that perfect. Not every point is going to match. Not all of your quilting piecing is going to match. We need to be a little kinder to ourselves and not point out our mistakes to everybody. But in saying that, when I'm looking at this, I do see where one line stitched into the other because I can tell where the points are. But the overall design is what everybody else is seeing. So again, that's why I shrink my spacing up so that the quilt is consistent across the quilting is consistent across the entire quilt top. I don't want you to be able to see where one row was and the next one is. It's a 6-pointed flower. And the rows are a little offset, not offset, they're like staggered so that the flowers aren't sitting on top of each other. They're zigzagged across the quilt. I love this one. This one I did use a cream color thread. Shows up really nicely on the blues, adds another whole texture to the quilt top. I love the texture it creates on the lighter prints as well. If I could keep this quilt, I would. I love everything about this. So, and even the backing. I just love it. I love everything about this quilt. So fun. So this one measured 52 by 69, a great size, lap size quilt. Great one for a wedding gift or something. So if you have layer cake and are looking at a way to use it, this would be a great pattern to pick up. So that book is listed down below, as well as the rulers if you're needing to pick up those rulers as well. All right, I have another quilt by Dana. Dana's second quilt is called Freya, F-R-E-Y-A, and this is a pattern by Kitchen Table Quilting. I love her patterns. Kitchen Table is just a really fun. If you've not checked out her website, you'll need to go do that and see all the patterns she has there. Just love her designs. I really, really do. So this project here, this one comes in 3 sizes if you get the pattern. It has a baby size, a lap size, and a twin size. It says it's for an experienced beginner. I think you could do it, no problem. It is jelly roll, fat eighth, fat quarter, or a scrap buster. So if you have a jelly roll that you're wanting to use, fat quarters, I mean, it lends itself to any one of those. You will need some backing, a background fabric as well. Dana has used a creamy color, like a muslin. It's almost like a muslin, not the feel of a muslin, but kind of the look of a muslin as her background. I love that. I love that choice. She says the colored fabrics are all a variety of Free Spirit fabrics. So Free Spirit, you have Cafe Facet, you have Tula Pink, you know, so many of those designers that are just the bright, bold prints. I love the way they're used in this one because they don't overpower the quilt. And so, but the brightness is there and the boldness is there. So the block, you can see, let me find one that you can, so it's done in an L shape. So you have a square here, and then you have a little bit of rectangle here, a little bit of rectangle here, and then you're adding some sides in between the blocks. There are, and I don't know because I haven't seen the pattern, I don't know whether you know, the one side block is attached to each block, or if that's actually sashing in between each of the blocks as you're putting it together. So it is set on point. You do have setting triangles, and that may be why you have more of the experienced beginner, because setting triangles are a little different. Anytime you're setting something on point, it is a little different, you know, adding those setting triangles, but you can do it. I'm sure you can. Another neat thing about kitchen table quilting is all of her patterns have free coloring pages. So you can print out any pattern that you see, including this Freya one. You can print out a coloring sheet and you can plan out your quilt how you want to put, whether you're using scraps, whether you're using a certain color line or whatever, but print those out for free. Every pattern that she has on her website has a coloring page, and the coloring page is where you can download it for free, separate from the pattern. And that's a really great feature. Not every designer does that. So you'll have to go to her website to check that out. And the coloring pages come in all three sizes. So where this quilt comes in a baby size, a lap size, and a twin size, you have coloring pages that print out for each one of those sizes. So you can, you know, you're not just given the baby size printout and trying to figure out whether on a twin size if that colorway is going to look good. You can color in the whole thing. So a really great feature there. The backing fabric on this one, Dana went with this blue and green, almost a beachy feel, and I do think she said this one was going to someone in a warmer climate. So even for the pantograph, we chose a pantograph that is called Water Wind, I think is what it was called. This is a new one that I chose as well. I like the, so Water Wind, because it could be either one. So it could look like the waves of the wind, the waves of the water. It could look like wind blowing as well. I think it works well for either way, whatever one you were wanting. So again, this is one where the fabrics aren't really carrying a theme. They're just all bold and bright. But Dana said this is going to someone in warmer climate, maybe Florida, I can't quite remember, but more of a beachy feel. And so you can create that feel in the pantograph then that you're choosing. The fabric didn't have to carry that theme. The pantograph can carry that theme. So it did use a cream color thread because of all of the background being this muslin color. And I like this. I like that it's not bright white. And they would give a whole different look to the quilt if it was a bright white. And it would be very pretty as well. But I kind of like this muslin color look, the creamier look. And so with the cream color fabric, or cream color thread, it just blends with all of that. You really don't even see it on the front till you get up close. It's just creating that texture. But then on the back, it really makes this look like a beachy feel to the quilt. So pretty. All right, I've loved all of Dana's quilts this week. This has been so fun, and you're not going to want to miss the last one. Dana's last quilt is so cute. This is Sparrow. This is a pattern put out by Pen and Paper Patterns, and really cute patterns as well. If you're not familiar with pen and paper, you're going to have to go find her patterns as well. So cute. So this is Sparrow. Now Dana said that she bought this as a kit from Backdoor Quilt Shop, and this is a quilt store here in Indiana. It's down in Greenwood area, south of Indianapolis. And she bought this as a kit there. It measures 67 by 72. So she didn't have all of the information about the fabrics because she bought it as a kit. What I can tell is that by the look and the feel, the darker appears to be a quilter's linen. And it's in a darker gray. I love this. I think this is so striking. Then with the bright colored birds on top of it, I like the dark background. And that's something that we've not always done in quilting. We've kind of tended towards the lighter backgrounds, and you're seeing more and more of the darker ones, and I like it. I really like it. Now, the fabrics, Dana didn't have information about the fabrics, but in my looking at them, several of them to me look like fabrics from Olive Grace Studios. And so I had the privilege recently of interviewing Corey Turner Goodhart for my Quilt Circle membership. And she is a delight to talk with. She has her own little quilt store up in Northeast Ohio. And I will link her website down below as well, because she has some cute lines. She's got a couple books that have been published, and she's now working on creating those into new patterns. She is a delight, and her little quilt store is in an old red schoolhouse, and I can't wait to go visit because it is just adorable. So several of these fabrics look like her fabrics, and the reason I'm assuming this one is this mustardy colored one. She and I talked about some of her colorways when I did an interview with her, and one of the things I love about Corey's fabrics is she has words in her fabrics, and if you followed me for very long, you know I love words. And so in the little leaf prints right here, it says follow your heart, keep going, and it's just right into the design of the leaf, and I just love that. I know that is a Corey pattern right there. Just so cute. But I'm sure there's other designers in here as well. I don't think all of this is Olive Grace Studios, but some of it is. And I know when I talked with Corey as well, that she has a really good relationship with the ladies down at Backdoor Quilt Store, so I know that she has told me that they have bought all of her fabric lines and have had the whole lines in their store, so I'm sure they curated this bundle and this kit using some of her fabrics. The other ones I'm not quite sure what they are, but they're all adorable prints. I love the mustardy goldish color in all of the feathers of the sparrow. It's just the size of the sparrow is just so cute, just that puffy, chunky littleness, and I think this is adorable. For the backing fabric, Dana chose this gold print, and it has sort of that spiral, almost a leaf type look, not leaf, almost like a wing type look to it. It's really cute as well. So for the pantograph, we kind of used this same theme, and we used the twirl again. Twirl was the same one that I used on Sarah's baby quilt. This went really well with this one because of a bird theme. You kind of think flying, and I like that. And we kind of pulled that design because of the backing fabric, kind of had that same, a little bit of the same swirl. And so used it, this is called twirl, not swirl. A little bit bigger than what I did on the baby quilt. This one is even larger than my fist, and then it's got a couple small ones. It does nest in well together, again, so that you can't tell where one line is stopping and the next one is starting. So for the thread color on this one, I did use a cream color. Now I know because the backing is a little darker, you would think I would go with a little darker, but these birds are bright and cheery, and I really, if I was going to cover over anything, I would prefer to change the background print a little bit than to dim the birds at all. So the cream color blends with the birds really nicely. The texture does show up on the darker background, but even, you know, with a linen, it's not a solid color because it's woven together, and so it does have some it's not a dark gray. I mean, even it appears dark gray, but when you get in close at a linen, you can see the weaving of it. And so the weaving, you can see how it's not dark both directions. It's got a little bit of a lighter print in there. So the cream color thread went really well with that. Not a problem with that at all. So I just love these quilts. This one measured 67 by 72, if I didn't say that already. It does have a little bit of a border around the edges to separate those birds from the edge of the quilt. And this pattern is available from Pen and Paper Patterns, and she has a PDF version as well as a printed version, so whichever one you like to work from better, and depending on how fast you want the pattern, right? So, and if you can print it out yourself. So perfect. I love this one. This has been so fun to work on. All right, those are all the quilts I have for this week. If you enjoyed this video, would you mind subscribing to my channel? That lets YouTube know that you enjoyed it. It also then will recommend that my channel to other quilters like you who have stumbled upon me perhaps and are enjoying what you're seeing, that will let other quilters know that they can join me here as well. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, I hope that you will get a hold of me. All of my information is down below. You can download the long arm prep and order form, and that gives you all the information you need. And I would love to work with you. And I will be back here next week because every quilt is worth finishing. Have a great week.